Hey guys, for today's video, I'll be guiding you over Fina's kits, character wedges, melee weapons, melee wedges, ranged weapons, ranged wedges, teams, and her introns to show you what I believe to be her best build. Also, keep in mind that this is a pre-release guide, so a lot of the info here hasn't been tested and is just speculation on my part. Anyways, starting off with her kits, for her skill, it deals lumino damage and reduces movement speed for enemies. It also relocates her ultimate field onto herself, and she increases her skill's range and damage. This skill is going to be really good for crowd control, and it'll be good for being able to consistently buff her allies with her ultimate field. For her ultimate, she creates a field that does elemental damage and continuously consumes sanity. This ultimate can swap between 4 different forms by using her ultimate again, with each form allowing allies to do additional damage of the element corresponding to the form. The first form is the Nightingale form, and it allows allies to do additional hydro damage. The second form is the Hound form, and that allows allies to do additional pyro damage. The third form is the Unicorn form, and that allows allies to do additional electro damage. And the fourth form is the Butterfly form, and that allows allies to do additional anemo damage. This ultimate is where the majority of her value comes from, since not only does it allow allies to do additional damage, but it also allows this additional damage to always do elemental advantaged damage, aka 400% more damage, against enemies that aren't Umbro or Lumino. Also, if you use this ultimate again outside the field, it relocates the field onto you, similarly to her skill, and if you hold the ultimate, it cancels it, which you'll typically have to do if you want to maintain her sanity. For her passive, she grants the ability to permanently do additional lumino damage throughout the battle, and she's able to provide a max of 30 Tail Weaver stacks that aren't permanent that give even more additional lumino damage. She can get these Tail Weaver stacks by using her skill and ultimate. When she uses her skill, she gets 6 Tail Weaver stacks, and when she uses her ultimate, she gets 1 Tail Weaver stack every second, meaning that you typically won't be able to get the max amount of stacks from her ultimates unless you increase her sanity, her skill duration, and efficiency, or you use her skill multiple times. For her passive upgrade, she increases the user's and allies' damage by however many Tail Weaver stacks she has when using her skill, meaning that at most, she'll be able to provide a 30% damage bonus to allies at I0, and a 45% damage boost to allies at I2. This damage boost is going to be pretty good, since even though it's only half of Truffle and Filbert's damage boost, it lasts for however long her Tail Weaver stacks last, not just for 6 seconds like Truffle and Filbert's damage boost. For her other passive upgrade, she increases weapon damage by 10% for sword and assault rifle characters when acting as a combat partner. Now, even though this hasn't been tested, I'm assuming this passive upgrade only increases the weapon damage of characters that are proficient in sword and assault rifle weapons, and it doesn't increase the weapon damage of characters that are simply using a sword or assault rifle weapon. For her skill priority, you're gonna want to level up her ultimate since it provides the majority of her buffs, then her passive because it provides the majority of her sub DPS, and then her skill because even though it doesn't do much, you're still gonna be spamming it in order to relocate her ultimate field and gain more Tail Weaver stacks. Anyways, how do you actually apply this information? Well, all this means is that you're gonna want to use her ultimate and swap to the appropriate type of additional elemental damage. Then, just use her skill anytime you need to relocate her field so that you can gain more Tail Weaver stacks. Other than that, you're gonna want to do weapon damage so that you can trigger a bunch of those additional damage bonuses, and because her I6 provides a ton of buffs to her weapon damage. Now, for the majority of the time, you won't even have to worry about any of this because you'll pretty much always be acting as a combat partner during solo missions. For her wedges, she's gonna want the sidestep for her core to improve survivability and movement. She's also gonna want the Prime Serenity because it provides sanity for allies, and it provides almost enough sanity so that it cancels out the sanity her ultimate consumes per second when she has a ton of skill duration and or skill efficiency. You can also use the Prime Uplift because it provides a damage boost for allies, but it won't have as much synergy with her as the Prime Serenity. She's also gonna want the Griffin's Midnight Sun because it provides Lumino attack, which increases her attack more than a regular attack boost, and it provides skill damage and duration for her ultimate and passive. She's also gonna want the 5-star Siren's Wings because it's the go-to wedge for improving sanity management, and she's gonna want the Glim and Glimmer because when combined with the 4 Blaze Eternity she wants, it'll provide a ton of skill duration and attack, similarly to all the Blaze Eternities, which will be good for sub DPS and supportive buffs. For her melee weapons, she's gonna want the Pyro Thirst and the Tether Slash because they provide skill duration for her ultimate and passive buffs. For other options, the Shark Gaze and the Wither Shade would be good because they increase her ultimate field range, and the Siren's Kiss would also be good for the same reasons, and because it provides attack speed for her additional damage boosts. For her melee wedges, she's gonna want the Celerity, the Brutality, the Blade Feints, the Edgeless Blade, the In Full Bloom, and the Whirl of Illusion for an insane amount of attack speed that will let you activate a lot more additional damage bonuses. After that, you're gonna want the Rage Trammel since it synergizes really well with her I6, and then you're gonna want the Impetus because it provides a bunch of attack. Also, you can substitute either the Blade Feint, the Edgeless Blade, the In Full Bloom, or the Whirl of Illusion for either the Penetration, the Edge, or the Crusher, depending on what type of attack your weapon does, since these wedges provide a ton of either slash, spike, or smash attack, which synergize really well with the attack from the Impetus because they're multiplicative with each other. For her ranged weapons, she's gonna want the Dreamweaver's Feather because it allows her to provide up to 180% attack to allies. For other options, the Osteel Breaker, the Arclight Apocalypse, the Blue Current Pulse, and the Scream Shot will also be good because they provide skill duration for her ultimate and passive buffs. The Embla would also be good because it provides skill range for her ultimate field range and skill damage for her ultimate and passive buffs. For other options, the Destructo and the Soul Rend would also be good because they increase her ultimate's field range. For her ranged wedges, she's gonna want the Celerity and the Loadout for attack speed for her additional damage bonuses. She's also gonna want the Rain of Quivers and the Fold Over for a ton of multi-shots for her additional damage bonuses. She's also gonna want a 5-star and 4-star Rage Trammel since they synergize with her I6. She's also gonna want the Impetus because it provides a ton of attack, and then she's gonna want either the Penetration, the Crusher, or the Edge, depending on what type of attack your weapon does, because attack and slash, smash, or spike attack are multiplicative with each other. For her teams, she'll be good with pretty much any character, for her additional damage bonuses can be triggered by anyone, and her damage boosts aren't skill, weapon, or elemental specific, but she'll be even better with characters like Lyn or Psyche, since they can trigger her additional damage bonuses way more than characters like Lisbel or Lady Niffle. For her Introns, her I1 makes it so that her ultimate also increases allies' pen stats by 6% for each type of additional damage they possess, meaning that if another character that provides additional damage, like Daphne, is on the team, she'll be able to provide up to 12% pen stats for all allies. And for Fina, considering that her passive and ultimate both give her different types of additional damage, this means that she'll be able to get 18% pen stats if Daphne is on the team, which will be really good because pen stats allow you to ignore the enemy's resistances. For her I2, it increases the Tailweaver stacks maximum from 30 to 45, and her skill now grants 9 instead of 6 stacks, and her ultimate grants 2 instead of 1 stack a second. This Intron will be really good for sub DPS, since it will reduce the ramp up of her additional Lumino damage tremendously, and that'll increase its damage by 50%. For her I4, it increases her skill damage by 1% and skill range by 2% for every Tailweaver stack she has, meaning that she can get up to 45% skill damage and 90% skill range at max stacks. This Intron will be good for sub DPS and damage buffs since they scale off of skill damage, but it'll be really good for supportive capabilities since her ultimate buffs also scale off of skill damage and her ultimate field range scales off of skill range. For her I6, when Fina deals weapon damage during her ultimate, the weapon damage gets 24% more crit chance for every bonus effect on the target, and the elemental type of the weapon damage is converted into the element that the enemy is weak to. This Intron is going to be really good for sub DPS, since you'll always be able to do elemental advantage damage, aka 400% more damage, with her weapon attacks, and her attacks will pretty much always crit. Now should you invest into Fina? Well, Fina will provide pretty good damage boosts to allies, and she'll allow them to do additional elemental damage that'll pretty much always be effective towards the enemy, since you can swap their elements. Not only that, but her sub DPS is no joke, considering her I6 increases her weapon damage tremendously, and she's able to do 45% additional Lumino damage with every attack that she does at I2, and she's even as good if not better than other top tier supports like Truffle and Filbert or Tabithy. meaning that if you have these other supports built, you would still benefit from building Fina. Thus, I at least would definitely invest my time into building Fina because her additional elemental damage alongside her buffs and sub DPS bring a lot of value to a lot of my teams, especially because as of right now, my go-to DPS is Lyn, who benefits tremendously from her additional damage bonuses. Anyways, that's all I've got for today. If you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. If you wish to know more, you can click on the video to the right. With that being said, goodbye.